consumed my 15 minutes.
No, I think you have done a great job
My 15 minutes.
by
So,
giving so much of information, so detailed information. I think every aspect is covered. I don't know what am I going to ask Shankar Sahab, in fact. But
Shankar Sahab certainly has a very important role to play because he was part of the government. And
yes,
Shankar Sahab, as I told you in the beginning of this meeting, that we would like to meet you along with Dr. Kumar to see how we can again go to the government, because we are 2024 and beyond. We are going to enter the next phase of EV industry's growth. So therefore, what kind of policy, what kind of government support is needed at the center and the state level is something which we all must come together to, to come out with some kind of ideas and share with each other.
no, in fact, before I invite Shankar Sahab, in fact, I will briefly introduce him as my duty. In fact, he is the Distinguished Fellow of TERI also, and the former Secretary of DIPP, Government of India, and also heading, as I mentioned earlier, the Foundation for MSME Cluster as the chairman. And he has worked, in fact, which I did not inform earlier, he has worked extensively in the Ministry of Power for many years and held the posts of Special Secretary, Additional Secretary, and Joint Secretary. He played a key role in piloting the reform legislation of the Electricity Act 2003 and the major national program, the Rajiv Gandhi Rural Electrification Program, launched in 2005 to electrify 125,000 unelectrified villages and provide electricity access to all. In fact, this is, of course, his background as a bureaucrat, but he is famous for opening up his heart. In fact, I would like to ask him what is his personal, assessment about the potential of this EV market in India and the constraints particularly which are facing this development of the EV market, particularly the cost aspect. I think Mr. Sharma also mentioned, I also mentioned, cost is high and the charging constraints are still, very large in the country. And shifting from the entire process of, this existing manufacturing, fossil fuel like IC engine to EV manufacturing is going to take time. I don't know whether we are too ambitious or maybe it is the urgent need of the country to save, our people from the environmental hazards. So over to you, Shankar sir, for your
first of all, let me
advice.
thank you for giving me the opportunity to share my thoughts on the subject.
Yeah.
I am particularly pleased because I think I was ahead of the curve in being an advocate of EVs when nobody was talking about EVs in India. In fact, in the National Manufacturing Competitiveness Council, we pushed for the initial policy papers, which then led on to the FAME schemes, etc. Right. So I'm very glad to be here today because many of my dreams are getting realized. I will begin by giving a slight global perspective. And the global perspective goes as follows, that if all vehicles become EVs, electric vehicles, and all electricity becomes free of carbon, then roughly 55 to 60% decarbonization of the economy will take place. And if mankind is to survive, then we need to get to net zero latest by 2050. And this is the reason why governments have been trying to promote EVs. And that effort has now reached a critical tipping point. So EU, the European Union as a whole, has decided that by 2035 or starting 2035, no more internal combustion engine vehicles would be sold in the EU. 2035, which is just 12 years from now. California has decided the same thing. 2035, no more internal combustion vehicles. Now, if you look at all the major automobile companies in the world, they have worked very hard and are now in the market with competitive EVs. And in fact, the pressure on the largest ones like Volkswagen in Europe is to say that by 2035, they will stop the production of internal combustion engine vehicles. So that's the perspective for EVs in terms of carbon emissions and climate change. Now in India, there is a second dimension, and which is the short-term dimension. Electric vehicles do not pollute the air when they are used. So if, say, Delhi were to become 100% EV, the problem of air pollution would more or less disappear. Because, I mean, if I just oversimplify, if the crop burning in Punjab ends, and if all vehicles in Delhi are EV, we would practically have clean air around the year.
Right.
Now, for a new disruptive technology, there is a lot of anxiety and apprehensions. So in fact, I was joking with somebody the other day that I have been receiving so many forwards on WhatsApp as to why EVs are terrible. I have hardly received a forward why EVs are good.
Mhm.
So let me begin one by one.
Yeah.
The first argument that is made is that the EV uses a lot of energy to be made compared to the internal combustion engine. So the energy consumed in making an EV is much larger. It is correct. But once decarbonization of electricity takes place, then this extra energy consumption in manufacture will be carbon free. The second argument is made that when you drive the EV, you are using thermal energy. So some coal is being burnt somewhere. So how is it good for carbon emissions? That's also correct. But as I said earlier, that if electricity production is decarbonized in parallel to the penetration of EVs, then carbon emissions will go down. So in India, for instance, I mean, our share of non-fossil fuel carbon electricity generation is about 30%. Thermal is about 70%. But with the Prime Minister's ambitious goal of having 500 GW of non-fossil electricity by 2030, the decarbonization will be very deep. So EVs, when they are in the market, they will be not emitting as much carbon as the internal combustion engine does. The electric vehicles are also more energy efficient, which is not widely known. Now the apprehension is about two other dimensions: batteries. Does the earth have enough lithium to sustain the transition to EVs? Now, what is happening to EVs is, or to lithium, is what has happened to all mineral resources. As market demand rises across the planet, exploration takes place, the reserves are found, and demand is met. So when the fossil fuel driven vehicle industry was rising and has kept growing exponentially over the decades, there was never anybody saying that we run out of oil or gas, and so why are we going in for cars and trucks? So far the market has performed well, and lithium reserves are being found, and supplies have not been a constraint for the production of EVs. And the International Energy Agency latest report suggests that there may be enough reserves on the planet. But we don't know. Exploration has to take place. But in the short term, there is no problem. And in parallel, a lot of work is going on to use substitute materials. So battery development is a frontier area in technology development across the world. The best minds, the best firms, the best labs are working on it. So I am optimistic that within a few years, an alternative to lithium-ion battery for EVs will emerge. And then there is the whole talk of hydrogen-driven cars, which the Japanese have worked very hard on. But the green hydrogen car is expensive. Hydrogen is expensive compared to, the EV car, because you use electricity to make hydrogen, and then you use the hydrogen to make electricity and run a car. So obviously it becomes more expensive. Now the issue is of the higher battery cost, and therefore the higher capital cost of the EV. Now in India, the companies which have come into the market are coming into the market as price points. Of course, there are the incentives of the government. But if you discount those incentives, but look at the actual price at which EVs are being sold in the market, two-wheelers, three-wheelers, four-wheelers, then for the consumer, it makes commercial sense, financial sense to use EVs because he saves money if he's using the EV extensively. If for some people it's kept in the house and doesn't run, then the cost of capital is high, the debt servicing cost is high, and the car is not running enough, and therefore you don't save enough money. But I am a very satisfied user of an EV for over a year, Tata Nexon, and my running cost per kilometer is ₹1 compared to 5-6 rupees for any other petrol car or diesel car. Diesel cars are anyway being phased out. So it runs practically free. And one of my sources from which I take taxis, he was initially very skeptical. Now he's booked for an EV, is now trying to persuade me to lobby so that he doesn't wait 9 months to get the EV. That is the waiting list for the Tata sedan, which can be used as taxis. And on the roads, you can see them. So taxi drivers and others are seeing the commercial advantage of using EVs. As far as charging stations are concerned, again, I mean, the market is a very powerful force. So there is this blue cab service, which gives you EVs in Delhi to come from the airport and so on and so forth. So the last time I was using it, I asked the cab driver that, what do you do for charging? So he said, my company has created charging stations. I have an app which tells me where is the nearest charging station. If I've run enough, I go there. I have my tea, coffee, or lunch, and in that period, the vehicle is charged and I can keep running. Then he said, from here to Chandigarh, the app will tell you where the charging stations are, the dhabas where you eat parathas or have tea. They put up charging stations and you can use it. So commercially, the EVs have arrived, and therefore my belief is that the market will drive the transition at a pace which is far more rapid than is given in the Niti Aayog projections and in the other projections. Because if you look at the speed with which the two-wheelers, three-wheelers are taking increasing market share, I think by 2030, the EV penetration would be far higher than has been projected till now. Now, battery swapping is the frontier, and my understanding is that there are a couple of companies, startups, which have come up, which are offering battery swapping two-wheelers and three-wheelers. My belief is that the auto companies need to work hard to come up with a vehicle where in a four-wheeler battery swapping can take place. I mean, I remember a presentation about 12 years back where the Israelis were saying that they were working on it. In theory, it should not be difficult with, very good robos at a battery swapping station for four-wheelers to automatically take out the battery and put in another one. Now, the safety issue is very important, and batteries are certainly vulnerable to safety issues. In fact, we've had some unfortunate incidents with two-wheelers in India where there has been, some fires. And in fact, the Tata Nexon that I have bought has pages after pages in the manual of what I should do and should not do to see that there is no fire. But globally, the experience has been very good because quality control in manufacturing is good, users are good. So fires are not being reported because the global population of EVs is rising very rapidly. So once our 2-3-wheeler manufacturers get in the right quality control systems and the users understand the do's and don'ts and do not go to local mechanics for various things, I think the fire issue would be behind us. So on the whole, I'm very optimistic about EVs. Now, there is another dimension, and which is that firms are wanting to brand themselves as being climate friendly. So one of the checkpoints that they can easily tick is that they have converted their logistics supply chain into EVs. I mean, one is that they put up captive solar and use green electricity. But the other tick point that has emerged is that you convert your supply chain into EVs and therefore you score, brownie points and global ESG. You can, get more funding in the market. Your brand gets better, that you are using only EVs in the supply chain. So that's a huge transition that is happening. So now, having covered all the concerns on the battery, one more point I'd make, and this was mentioned by the society representative Sharmaji, that the government for once has a little ahead of the curve. So the PLI scheme covers batteries. And it's a good thing because I think India should aim at becoming Atmanirbhar in batteries. If we succeed in that, the cost of batteries will come down. And I was very glad to see on YouTube, etc., presentations. Some of the big players like Ola are thinking of making batteries in India on their own. And they're working on battery chemistry. And I'm sure the others, I'm not aware of it, but they will start making batteries because then you are not vulnerable to price shocks on an imported product. Because if you make batteries in India, then your price is not vulnerable to foreign exchange and so on. So as I said, that large firms would be seeing brand value in having their logistics chain in EVs. So that creates a expectation that the MSMEs who are suppliers to the large firms also switch to EVs for logistics. Because I've been on juries for giving awards on sustainability, and one of the parameters is that how far have you gone down your supply chain to make that green or sustainable, etc. The other thing is that the component industry, the battery, the servicing industry, etc., or the battery swapping stations or the battery charging stations, these are huge market spaces that are emerging. And clearly, these are suited for the broader MSME space. These are suited for startups. And these are suitable for startups which can become very big in 3, 4, 5 years. So it's a huge, exciting potential where the market space is very large. So if those who are entrepreneurs, who are startups, who are in the MSME space want to diversify, then the entire supply chain for components, for repairs, servicing, battery swapping, and battery recycling. Because battery recycling is a frontier area, and I do hope that India would be in the global frontier of efficient recycling, both for environmental reasons as well as for recovering lithium, which you can use again. So all kinds of interesting spaces are emerging. And I think, as I had said earlier, that the pressure is on, say, Volkswagen and others to stop making internal combustion engines. So this is a huge disruption which will take place, is taking place in India, and media reports suggest that some of the large firms who were slow in recognizing the potential of EVs have come in rather late and are struggling to retain the large market share that they had with the internal combustion two-wheeler or three-wheeler or whatever. And even in four-wheelers, I mean, for the first time, Tata Motors are, inching up very rapidly, and those who have been late in coming with cost-competitive products in the market are feeling the pain. I mean, they're fearing the future. So for MSMEs, I would say that it's a huge, huge space. Please see where you can position yourself through diversification, etc., etc. But EVs are going to be I think, the most disruptive change in the industry, in the industrial and transport sector in the next 10 years. And we are already seeing the wave gathering momentum. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much. In fact, I was thinking after listening to you that you are the real brand ambassador of the country for promotion and development of the EV market. In fact, a skeptic person like me has also turned very positive in favor of EVs after listening to you. So I was little worried about many issues like safety and cost and, space, batteries. All these issues very aptly clarified by you, and they are very convincing. So let us hope that this market is going to grow very substantially and more than what Niti Aayog, as you rightly mentioned, has projected, because market forces will take it forward, and the constraints that people talk about would get overcome because of the market forces, the real need and the acceptability of the people. I was only going to ask you one query that was coming to my mind is that because I booked recently a car petrol driven, a new car, wondering that this will last another 15 years. So I don't know whether that is a mistake or a right thing to do, because EVs, first of all, as I mentioned, the cost is very high. And second thing, the charging issue, of course, you explained that they are gradually coming up. But
I will respond that my EV is charged at home overnight.
I see.
I stay in Greater Noida and I drive to Delhi and back forth. I've never felt in the NCR that the battery charge is a constraint.
Okay. Oh, great. That's a great input. And second thing, recently I was listening to the Honorable Minister, Mr. Gadkari ji, and he was saying somewhere that over a period of next 5 years, the government is going to stop the use of petrol altogether. So I don't know whether government is going to bring this kind of sudden change, maybe in 5 years' time.
That will be difficult. That will be
Yeah,
difficult.
will be difficult. So
I mean, I personally, if I were in government or advising government, I said, let the market drive the EV transition and you support the EV.
yes,
We are doing.
that is the correct way, of course.
Rather than say that by this date, this will be bad.
Yes.
Once the success is there, then you can come up with a date.
Yes.
And the date as has happened in Europe, or
Hmm.
UK, in fact, has said 2030, no more internal combustion cars can be sold. But
Okay.
nobody is saying that you write off the existing cars, except in terms of existing norms. So like, I think for petrol, it is 15 years, I think, at the moment.
Yes. Yes. So one question to Mr. Sharma. In fact, are you there, Mr. Sharma, with us? Can you unmute yourself, please?
Ji, very much.
Yeah. So I was, wondering with so much of scope in the supply chain and for new product development, participating in this upcoming, huge market, whether your society is helping promotion of new enterprises also for, entering this production chain and also entering the supply chain. And if it is helping, in what way, in fact, because a lot of people would be interested. A lot of people have come up and they are entering the market, but people are not aware as to where do they start, what do they start, and how do they get connected to the supply chain.
Dr. Kumar, yes, am I audible?
Yes, please go ahead.
So yeah, we do keep on getting these kind of requests, off and on from young startups and young entrepreneurs. And whatever little assistance we can provide to them, we continue to do that. And in future also, we'll be happy to receive these queries from the young entrepreneurs and businessmen wherever we can connect them, or we can, many times the request is that, we can connect them to the, as you said about the ecosystem, some of these OEMs who would have some kind of requirements for components and other things. So we keep on, doing this a little bit from time to time. And we keep on also inviting these young entrepreneurs and startups to take up our membership, who have interest in the EV space. So this is an ongoing exercise which we have been doing in the associations for many years now.
Okay. No, I think that's a great information. I think you can leave. I think your contact details will be there. The society is very famous society. People can
Yes.
get in touch with you.
So
But
my contact details are there on the website itself.
okay,
So anyone wants to get in touch, and we, as I told you, we keep on getting calls from across the country.
right.
So whatever little we can do in terms of connecting them or giving them some little advice in terms of what policies are there,
Right.
we keep on, doing our part.
And you had one question, in fact, at the end of your talk for Shankar Sahab. Can you repeat that question, because he's still with us?
I have seen one question on the chat to which I'll reply.
Yeah, please go
An
ahead, sir.
existing vehicle can be converted into an EV. IIT Delhi did a demonstration, and there are a couple of startups trying to get
Convert.
market space to converting an internal combustion petrol-driven car into an EV. The only
Okay.
question is whether the economics is attractive enough, because the real cost of the EV is the battery.
Right.
So whether it makes good sense to spend so much money in getting a good battery put into a
Right.
car.
Right.
In the three-wheeler, four-wheeler rickshaw space, smaller lead acid and other batteries have come and replaced all the other vehicles in smaller towns. And therefore, the air is really cleaner there if you go after a gap of 3 years I have been. I mean, the old smoking tempos, etc., have all gone, and you have now very clean four-wheelers of the smaller rickshaws.
But sir, there is one more point. The PLI which has been implemented, as you mentioned, the government was ahead of time and they included the batteries also. But my observation is, I have seen PLIs for other sectors. There is very little space for MSMEs, in fact.
That is a problem across the board.
Yes.
And
Yes.
the point is being made by many people in many forums that the MSME sector is the one which needs the maximum support.
Yes. Yes.
And we should do something about it, if not PLI, some other kind of scheme, but at least it gives them the support they need. So I'm with you on that.
Yeah, I am raising this issue because you are part of that accolades, in fact, who keep talking about the policy issues. Naturally, you can raise that issue at the appropriate forum. Because MSME sector is, when the government says that 99% of the country's enterprises are MSMEs. In the supply chain also, in fact, the MSMEs play a very big role. In fact, the whole assembly of the vehicle will come only if, hundreds of SMEs have contributed to it. So they also need to be given, this kind of incentive. Otherwise, converting their existing manufacturing processes into, the new technology is not easy. So at least some kind of capital subsidy, at one-time subsidy, if not, like production-linked incentive at a regular basis. At least some initial, like capital infusion can be the kind of subsidy that the government may consider. So it is very useful and very, very informative and very, very interesting talk that we had today. And I think a lot of people would have benefited, those who are participating.
And Dr. Kumar, I just wanted to make an observation.
Please go ahead.
Yeah, thank you. Just because I have the benefit of Mr. Shankar present here.
Yes.
Just wanted to seek your kind attention, that the Ministry of Heavy Industry in the past have had a role where they were, primarily monitoring the performance of the public sector units. But of late, with the FAME policy and the PLI and all the major corporates across the country being one of the, who have been bidders of all these schemes, suddenly the Ministry of Heavy Industry has become a very, very important ministry. My past experiences that I've handled areas like telecom and defense, where we would be called by the secretary on a regular basis for stakeholders consultation and meet. But this is something which I've not witnessed here in Ministry of Heavy Industry for a long time. Mr. Shankar, as you may be aware, we have a new secretary and the joint secretary. So my submission is, if you get, through this forum, my submission was that if more and more consultations on a regular basis happens, and primarily the concerns of the smaller players, the MSME is also considered. So I think that will be a very, very important, step in ensuring that we create the right ecosystem. That was my submission, Mr. Shankar.
I agree.
Mr. Shankar, over to you.
So I
Yeah,
agree.
he said he agrees, yes.
Yeah. No, but beyond that, I would also request you, if you ever get the chance.
We'll get in touch separately.
Yes. Thank you so much. Thank you. Just
So we
for the
come
interest
to
of the
the,
industry.
yeah, we come to the almost conclusion of this program. And Varun, if you have any other questions, our experts are available, we can ask. And this recording will be available.
Yes, the recording will be available.
Will be available for anybody to see the recording and get, whatever more information is required on this.
Yes.
So any other question?
No other questions as of now, sir. In the chat box we can see, but as in when we receive any questions, they will be directed to you
Okay.
or other speakers.
So we come to the close of this. Thank you very much. In fact, we have
Thank
had a
you.
wonderful session. Thank you,
Thank
sir.
you.
Thank you very much. It was indeed a
Good to
pleasure.
catch up.
And
Good
I
to
still
catch up.
repeat that you should be the brand ambassador. The government probably should recognize your contribution right from the days that you were heading the National Manufacturing Competitiveness
Right. NMCC.
Council,
Yeah.
NMCC.
Right.
I was also with the government and we attended several meetings, in fact. We didn't know at that time that your vision of bringing this kind of transformation is going to take shape so fast. So thank you very much for your kind presentation. And Mr. Sharma, thank you as always.
Thank you, Dr. Kumar.
You are brilliant. You are very extensive. Your presentation and talk was really very informative.
Just prepared for 15 minutes allocated to me, so I thought maybe I'll do justice to that.
No, I think you utilized the time fully well. Thank you very much. And over to you, Varun.
Thank you,
Kumar Saab. I just wanted to have a group photograph. I think Mr. Shankar Saab has left, but on behalf of everyone here today, we would like to thank you for sharing your invaluable sights to all the speakers and to this important topic, and that I know it affects all of us. Thank you, Mr. Sharma, for giving us.
Thank you, Varun, for inviting me.
Your address was full of zeal and valuable information. Thank you very much. Thank you,
Dr. Thank you, Varun. Thank you, Shivani, Priyanka, everybody, all those who put this program together.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Thank you.
YouTube will be shared with all of you.
Thank you and have a nice weekend. Thank you so much.
Thanks.